Okay, I'm here with Jeff Martin. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Very good.
Great. You're going into the studio after this tour, and there's a new live set coming out later this year. What's this tour in aid of then?
Well, this basically is to try out some of the new material before I hit the studio, because first of all, it's something that I've never done, even in the past with the Tea Party. I mean, we never played new material until it was committed to records, but I'm feeling very, very strongly about the material that's forthcoming, and there's no better litmus test than the audience that I have here in this country. So I'm going to put this new material against, the stalwarts of the past, the Sisters, Awake, and, all of that stuff, the Bazaar and everything, and see if it compares. And in my heart of hearts, I believe it does. So.
Fantastic. And so you mentioned that you'd be playing some of the Tea Party songs. But are you playing as a two-piece on this tour?
Yes. So it's basically 2/3 of the Armada. It's myself and Jay Cortez.
Cool.
And yeah, it's going to be quite a different show. I mean, it's going to be also a very multi-instrumental, because Jay is a jack of all trades when it comes to the instruments, and so for two men on stage, it's going to be quite a big sound.
And
it'll be a very beautiful show, very passionate. So.
Great. And what kind of instruments are you bringing along?
Well, as far as Mr. Cortez is concerned, there'll be a mandolin, harmonium, lap steel. He'll be playing bass. Then we have our, the pedal boards as well, which is doing all the fancy, sci-fi effects trips, things like that. So it's going to be a lot of sound. It's like a two-man Pink Floyd.
Great. With all the reunions over the last, they've been quite popular. Everyone's been reforming left, right, and centre. Have you been tempted to reform the Tea Party?
Have I been tempted? Yeah, I've been tempted. But, the problem is right now is just with, our schedules and things like that. I mean, the drummer Jeff Burrows from the Tea Party has a brand new band called Crash Karma, and, he's got to commit to that, and he's probably got about a good year ahead of him for that. And I'm very committed to, the work that I'm doing with the Armada and other things. So, I mean, I can't say for sure if it'll ever happen, but so I know that, the three of us are interested in doing it again, but who can say? And
so you're obviously still in contact with the guys?
No, actually, we haven't spoken for 5 years. We've spoken through other people. Okay. So, it's one of those things, I mean, the split of the Tea Party was very acrimonious, to say the least, so there's still a lot of water under the bridge that needs to be sorted out, but 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, I mean, we're all grown ups, so
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it can be. We'll see.
Sure. And the Tea Party was around for about 15 years. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
What was your background before that?
Background before that? Well, I mean, basically, we all just came out of high school and started playing together. We were in different bands throughout high school and things like that. I mean, like, for instance, Jeff Burrows and I, we had our first band together when I was 10 years old and he was 11, so it goes back that far. And, it's just always been about music for me. I had a scholarship to the University of Windsor for performance classical guitar, but I think I lasted about a month, and decided, screw this, I'd rather be a rock star. So.
Sure. What was the scene like in your hometown back then?
Oh, in Windsor, well, you see, like in Windsor, Ontario, it was, it's a very blue-collar town right on the border of Detroit, so we were actually one of the first bands in Windsor, that started doing original material, and it was mixed in with some covers and things like that, but it's, it garnered the scene, especially in that small little city, and, it became quite big quite soon, and then it just spread out from there, and, once we started playing, Toronto, which is basically the music capital of Canada, it didn't take long for the Tea Party to get the attention, of the record companies in Canada, and then so it was kind of like, it was overnight for us, and it just happened very quickly. So
cool. your lyrical content has always been pretty dark. What influences do you bring as a songwriter?
Well, I mean, I'm very influenced by a lot of the French symbolist poets, such as Charles Baudelaire and Arthur Rimbaud, Paul Verlaine, people like that. So, I could agree that some of it's dark, but there's a lot of beauty in it as well. I hope, anyways, that people would appreciate. So, and as far as my personality is concerned, there's definitely a dark side to my psychological makeup. That's I'm thankful that I have music as an outlet to get it out, because if I didn't, maybe I'd be a dangerous person to be around. So.
And you've cited before Led Zeppelin as being a major influence on you, and I've read that.
Well, the whole thing about Zeppelin was like, when I was around 17 years old, that's when I really started getting into them, and the thing was is that what I used from Zeppelin was to create the Tea Party. I kind of used that blueprint. The power of that band was something that I wanted, the Tea Party to be able to express. But the one thing was is that what really fascinated me most about Zeppelin was when they would experiment, with the Eastern modes and things like that, like for instance Kashmir, or Dancing Days and stuff. And it was that side of Zeppelin that I wanted to grab and take further. And I think that's what the Tea Party accomplished, with records like The Edges of Twilight. So.
Okay. I've read that you could call Jimmy Page a friend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Has there been any kind of talk of collaborating on something here or there?
There has been moments in the past and everything, but the man's very busy, and he's the keeper of the flame as far as the Zeppelin legacy is concerned and all that. And I just have all the respect in the world for him, and he knows perfectly well that if he ever needed anything from me, it's a phone call away. So.
Yeah, you haven't been tempted to try and fly him over here for one of your own records?
Yeah, well, see, the thing about Jimmy now is he's a big family man, so he's a busy boy, So.
Cool. Am I right? Your son is named after one of the greatest jazz guitarists, Django Reinhardt. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Will we be seeing anything jazzy from you in the future? Are there influences there that are waiting to come out?
I might, maybe in about 10 years' time, I might start moonlighting, playing some gypsy jazz guitar. I don't know. But, it's just, for my son, like the spirit that's, in that boy, invested in that boy, Django in Romani gypsy language means I awake, and that boy is certainly awake. He's a very, very big soul. So.
Oh, that's cool. So it kind of goes a bit deeper than merely the jazz influence.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. And you recently became an Australian citizen. How did that come about, and what drew you to this country?
Well, I'm officially an Australian resident, but citizenship might come in a couple of years' time. But what drew me to this country was, well, first of all, my wife is a Perth girl, so I met her, 15 years ago. And also, my son being born here in Perth 5 years ago was, the gypsy lifestyle that I led up until, last year needed to sort of come to an end for my family's sake, because, Django going to school and whatnot, so I wanted him to be around his family, which he has a lot of here in Perth. Mm-hmm. And even though, my life is still comprised mostly of touring around the world and things like that, at least I know that, there's a strong family unit here for him, which is very important. Cool.
And I think you've mentioned in the past that Australia's often you've had a good fan base here for your music, both.
Well, yeah, it's massive. I mean, the love affair started, started right from the beginning of the Tea Party, and it hasn't ceased to exponentially grow. It's just been a wonderful experience, and I have all the respect in the world for, the Australian audience that I have here.
Cool. Can you tell us about the new live CD and DVD set that you've got coming out later this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, we captured a pretty magical night in Sydney, the last Armada tour, and that tour was very challenging because it was, with all the instruments and influences that came, and basically rearranging the music of the past, the present, and possibly the future. It was quite an endeavor, to take on, and it was pretty amazing that on that particular night we managed to, pull it off without a hitch. So, it's a fantastic testament, in time, and it's a great musical statement, and I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for all the fans.
Cool. And your recent career has been well documented through live performance releases. Is there something about live albums that you prefer, or?
Well, it's those moments, those magical moments, of passion, from a performance that sometimes, it's hard to capture in a recording, like a studio recording.
Mm-hmm.
But in front of an audience, there's something, the symbiosis that happens, that synchronicity, is something that I love, and I want to, capture as much as I can. So.
Cool. Is that? I guess it sounds like you're getting a lot of practice, potentially trying to capture that in normal recordings with other bands. You're doing a lot of production stuff now.
Yeah. I just produced a band from Melbourne called The Eternal, which I'm very proud of. The great, hard rock trio. I mean, imagine, transmission era Tea Party with the rhythm section of a Zeppelin, and then all the electronics of Nine Inch Nails, and that's kind of what the Eternal sounds like. So it's a great record. And then actually tomorrow, Scott Stapp from Creed is flying into Perth, and I'm going to be doing some writing with him for his solo record.
Oh, cool. They're just off the back of their reunion tour, aren't they?
Yeah.
Cool. And how much time would you say is taken up with being a producer these days?
It's getting to be a good third of my year, which is it's a great thing. It's something I really enjoy. I mean, it's with all the experience I've had, producing all those Tea Party records and all the studios I've worked in the world, I can really bring something, to the table for musicians because, not only as a producer, but I'm also an engineer as well. So, there's a sound that if people are wanting to hire, my services as a producer, they're getting a sound as well. And I think it's a sound that's, a lot of rock bands, try to get, but can't quite get there. And so there's a few secrets that I know, especially from Mr. Page. So there you go.
Cool. Have you begun writing stuff for your new album?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I've got 6 great songs, by my standards, anyways, for the next record. So now, whether it's going to be a Jeff Martin solo record or an Armada record remains to be seen. But what I'm doing for the first time on this tour that I've never done in the past, even in the Tea Party days, is I never played any new material until it was committed to record first. But what I want to try this time is see if these new songs stand up, to the old stalwarts of the past, like Sister Awake and The Bizarre. And in my heart of hearts, I believe that they will. So
cool.
Yeah.
And are there any hints at what kind of direction they're taking, like the songs you just mentioned, or something?
It's very much like it's an evolution of that type of influence. It's very world music driven, So and especially for my recent travels, for instance in Turkey and in Greece, like playing in Istanbul and such, I've come back with a lot of ideas. So things are moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for your time, Jeff.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on the road.
Okay, great. Thanks
Thanks for your time. See you.